it is a place of so much diversity and yet the same unity of Sanatana Dharma, that on one hand you have such a strong Shakta place, such a vibrant Shakta place. On the other hand, you have some of the most Vaishnav traditions of all of India there, the Satras of Lower Assam and Majuli also. They have these home shrines where they worship their gods and goddesses, where they hold all rituals. I went to a home where a couple of 75 years old, they were the last remaining priests of their village. Their children who were sitting in front of them had converted. When Wanching converted, Wakching was also actually the lead, because they were rivals. The two villages were rivals on two hills. This village, which had not yet converted, they got together, the leaders, and they said, let us convert to Hindu Dharma, because they converted to Christianity. But then I said, so what happened? And they said, you never came. Travel करने का हम सबको कीड़ा है, हम वो रोक नहीं सकते. Let's utilize it for this. Let's connect with our Northeast brothers and sisters, love them, solve their problems in any way that we can, connect them to institutions and people, and let's hope that one day Sanatana Dharma once again rules all over Northeast India, all over Bharatvarsh. Namaste everyone. The title itself, if you were to tell this to anyone else, we would commonly think this doesn't go. Northeastern temples doesn't go with each other. But that's what it is. It was around 14-15 years ago when I stumbled upon my first ancient great temple. I stumbled upon all great things we don't plan. They happen to us. So somebody invited me into a very boring conference in Odisha. It was a journalistic conference of journalists. I was then working in Nagaland University in Bhopal. And so they took me along. At that time, I was the one, because they had 19 tickets, 19 train tickets, and 2 of them dropped out. So they said, do we have some extras? So I was one of those 2 extras. I was once again one of those who sat at the back of Bolero and who went to all of these things. And the conference, as usual, was very boring. So 2 or 3 of us thought that what else can be done? So somebody suggested there's Kapilash near, the place of Kapil Muni where he did tapasya. And there are some ancient temples there. And then, because Konark is known by, at least the name is known by everyone, I said it's not too far, because it was Dhenkanal near Cuttack. So that is when I first went to Konark. And I have been since then to Konark, I guess 4 or 5 times. And every time the bhav is the same. I just go crazy, because I look from here to there, from there to there, and every time after 4 or 5 hours, when I come out, I think that I have not paid enough attention. I forgot studying this, I forgot studying that, and next time I will be proper, next time I will not lose my calm when I enter this, but it doesn't happen. So when the first time it happened to me, I had this feeling that there have to be more temples like this. And before that, I had read the works of Sitaram Goyal, then I had read Voice of India, and there was this 2-volume book, Hindu Temples, What Happened to Them, and a lot of destruction that happened. So, because I came from Gwalior, and though Gwalior had some great ancient temples left in it, the impression was that, because most of the functioning temples, the divorce in our temples was that a functioning temple would not be ancient, and an ancient temple would not have a Murti, Vigraha in the Garbhagriha. And so these 2 things were disconnected with each other. Our families went to these temples which were very contemporary, built in very contemporary style, some not even like temples, some just like houses. And so this sense that we don't have any of the history left was there in it. When I stumbled upon Konark, and though it is just a ruin, the Garbhagriha is not there, the temple is no longer there, it's simply the Mandapam, the Jagmohan, which still exists, and that, even that is not complete. And if that could be as magnificent, as good as that, I thought that there must be other examples that are left. And then I started going to all of these temples, and since then the journey has been there. My other love, which is the other part of this title, Temple Traditions of Northeast, because my first love in life was geography. Ever since I was 8 or 9 years old, the first discipline that I fell in love with was geography. When I was 9 years old, one day my mother was cleaning the attic and an atlas fell. It was in Hindi, Brajvasi Atlas. As bizarre as the name sounds, it was a company which used to make very good atlases in my father's time. He never studied it, so when that it dropped and it broke into 2, I asked him, what is this? And he said, yeah, somebody gave it to me. So I started studying it, and it was very old, like 30, 35 years old. And when I watched TV, there was no internet at that time. When I watched TV, I found out that certain countries had, changed boundaries. And so I would make boundaries in the map. And our Northeast also had changed a lot of boundaries, because Northeast is the 8 states now. They have 7 sisters plus the 8th brother, Sikkim. The way they have joined it, it was not always so. Assam was the biggest state there. Arunachal was Nefa. Nagaland was part of Assam. Mizoram was part of Assam. And then these entities kept changing their shapes. So at that time, I would draw, the real and the contemporary shapes in that. And Northeast fascinated me, because it seemed like it would break off any day, because, it is hanging by a thread, and even truly it can break off if we are not as vigilant as we should be. So of this, Mizoram attracted my attraction most, because it is like a hanging icicle. If you see the Mizoram is hanging like an icicle, and all of these were just names in my head, and there was a burning desire in me that I had to go to these places. But at those times I was from Gwalior. People traveled only in marriages and deaths, and that was it. So there was no thought. I thought it is a good desire, like we all had good desire. In those days, we were taught well not to give in to any desire, because very few of them were fulfilled. So I thought that it is a good thing to have that desire, but it will never be fulfilled. But as the deities have it, as fate would have it, I did start going, and my love for Northeast started, fructifying just 4 years ago, 2022. I have traveled to a lot of places in India, but Northeast started only in 22, and ever since then, I've been going there almost every second month. I've fallen in love with the place, and I'm shocked by the ignorance of us so-called mainlanders. They call us, if they feel very generous, they will call us mainlanders, otherwise they call us Indians. Most of them, except the Assamese and some of them, they call us Indians. They don't consider themselves as Indians. And of course, it is not a good thing, but if you live there, if you live with them, you'll find that they are not the only ones to blame for having this attitude. We have forgotten in last 75 years to integrate that culturally into us and integrate us culturally into them. Because we should have opened cultural embassies in every state, educating our people about the cultures of Northeast. We don't even know that so many great temples exist, and that is on what the current presentation is. Assam is the binding power. So first of all, just in 1 minute, geography of Northeast, there is Brahmaputra, and everything in Northeast is about Brahmaputra. Every speck of water, anywhere, on any hill, any pond, any plain in Northeast that falls will eventually get to Brahmaputra, one way or the other, either directly through Assam or through some other rivers in Bangladesh, but then eventually it will end up in Brahmaputra. So it is the plain, the flood plain. Assam is basically the flood plain of Brahmaputra, the upper part. And on all sides, it is surrounded by mountains. And all of these are mountainous states. So this is the geography. Assam binds it all. Assam is the state which has most number of boundaries with the state, except apart from Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh has 7 state boundaries. Assam also has 7 state boundaries. It touches 7 states, so it's a huge thing. It has most number of these boundaries. It is very critical. We know all of the problems. Today we will not talk on them, but all the infiltration problems. But Northeast is a significant place. It has some of the greatest concentrations of ethnicities in the world. More than Arunachal alone has around 108 to 110 tribes, 110 communities, all with different languages. All of Northeast has around 250 to 300 different communities with as many languages. Apart from that also, culturally and politically, it is also the place which has the highest density of militant organizations in the world, entire world. Not in Kashmir, not in West Asia, not in South America, anywhere in the world, it has the highest density, and it is there for a reason. Northeast sits at the center of 3 greatest non-monotheistic civilizations of the world, left in the world. Bharat, on one hand, China on the other, and Southeast Asia, the last remaining frontiers of Dharma, and that is what we are researching on. The greatest temple, which every one of you would know, is Ma Kamakhya. And surprisingly, when I started reading about it, even about this place, we are ignorant a lot. Of course, we are informed and misinformed through podcasts in last 3 or 4 years about Ma Kamakhya a lot and her place a lot. But about this place also we are less informed. But fortunately, I read a book by a Scottish woman who biked through all of Northeast, Arunachal Pradesh. And look at this, she wrote around 10, 12 years ago, The Land of Dawnlit Mountains, wonderful story, everyone should read. She is a Scottish woman, not a Hindu, and yet she follows the tradition of having darshan of Ma Kamakhya. She says that nothing in Northeast can have any fruit if you do not have darshan of Ma first. So I also, when I went, I had read that book before. I would have anyways, but after reading that book also, first had darshan of Ma Kamakhya. All of you know about it. The current structure, the place is ancient, and Assam has a very peculiar tradition of sparsha darshan, which is there, it exists in other places also, but here you have to touch the Swayambhu Vigraha and take tirtha, and that only then is darshana. So that's why it takes so much time. In most of the temples in South India, you can't even enter because it's their agamic tradition. Here you have to not just enter, but touch, take tirth, and that is darshana. And that is the tradition with almost all of the Ahom temples of Assam. The first wave of temples, let me tell you, the Pal and Sen temples, which were ancient, which were like in classical idiom, they are all gone, not even a single representative is left. There are some ruins left, but not a single standing temple there is left. These temples, this structure, the Kshetra is ancient, but this structure was built by Ahoms the second time. So Vigraha cannot be destroyed here because it's a Swayambhu Vigraha. It's a yoni it's one of the 4 great Shaktipithas, and it cannot be destroyed. So the place remained, Kshetra remained, the temple got rebuilt. Then, apart from, so it is a place of so much diversity, and yet the same unity of Sanatana Dharma, that on one hand you have such a strong Shakta place, such a vibrant Shakta place. On the other hand, you have some of the most Vaishnav traditions of all of India there, the Satras of Lower Assam and Majuli also. So there was a great saint, Srimant Sankardev, who in 17th century came in Assam, and it is through his agency that Sanatana Dharma is still so widespread. What he did was absolutely wonderful. He created at that time, because all of Assam floods, abhi to there are embankments after the British times, but all of Assam usually would flood every season until your knee, almost all of Assam. So nobody built on ground, nobody built with concrete. They built on stilts with bamboo. So every structure would be on bamboo. Every structure would also be temporary in the sense that people were ready to leave it if the water, water level rose, because there were floods frequently. And so in such a place, Sriman Sankardev comes, he establishes Namghar in these bamboo-ridden huts. And Namghar is what? There was no place to build a grand structure like all of India was building. There was no scope of even having grand vigrahas, very heavy dhruv beras or the primary murti vigraha in the garbhagriha. So what did they do? They just instituted in these huts Nama of Bhagwan, Lord Vishnu, Bhagwan Krishna, and constant Nam Jap was started in every single village of Assam. Every single village of Assam. Now, through a lot of encroachment and भगवान हेमंत बिस्व शर्मा को हमेशा वहां का चीफ मिनिस्टर रखे केवल एक कार्य की वजह से ही इज रिमूविंग द इंक्रोचमेंट फ्रॉम 80 to 90%, thousands of acres of Satra land, and these Satras were in every village for 400 years. Continuously, the Nam Jap of Bhagwan is going on. It is such a strong place against everything that is going on. When we see the protests, when CA was declared, we saw a lot of protests in Assam, but we have to understand their point of view, what they were trying to say. They are very deeply Hindus, much more than a lot of us, much more ritualistic, much more particular about their traditions, very, very deeply Hindu. But they have some of their problems, and we have almost left them. Even in our mind, we don't give them a space. Satras, this Namghar is an example of that, the continuous Nam Jap going on in every single village of Assam. That is the tradition that we are talking about. Of that, Majuli has become famous now due to some, once again, good or bad influence of some YouTubers and influencers. But this is, it's a riverine island, one of the largest riverine islands, as they say. On one side is Subansri, 2 sides actually, one side is Brahmaputra. Here, some of the most pristine Satras are there, and almost all of the year, knee-deep water you are there. So You have to go through boats and all. And some of the most pristine Satras are there as they existed 350, 400 years ago. And then as you go up, you find the capital of Ahom kings. Ahoms came into India through what is now Arunachal, the three southernmost districts of Arunachal, Longding, Tirap, Changlang. Pangsu Pass they crossed. They came into Assam, what is now Assam, and gave it its current identity, merged with the people there, adopted the basic Sanatan tradition and basic Sanatan atmosphere. And that is what they practice here. So as the great Shakta Kshetras of Lower Assam, in Upper Assam, you see the great Shaiva Kshetras also. Sipsagar is a great city. You will find many, many ancient temples like this. We don't have time to go into everyone, but just remember this name, and whenever you travel, please go there. Now, and we are proceeding from here, from west to east, and we traversed all of Assam. Now let us enter the easternmost part of Arunachal, and we'll go to every state, but like this. There is Parshuram Kunda. This is where it is said, before this, Brahmaputra starts. So the scientific tradition says that Brahmaputra, the Siang is the main, because the scientific convention is that the tributary of a river which brings the most volume of water will be considered the origin of the river, the original river. But the Hindu tradition, Hindu cosmological tradition, has always considered the origin of Brahmaputra inside India, near Parshuram Kunda. And there is a reason for that. And geologically, now they say, even if China builds dam and Sangpo is stopped, 75 to 80% of water that Brahmaputra builds is in India's northeast. So Brahmaputra is not going, some water level will go down, but it is not going to disappear. And Hindu tradition always believed that the origin of Brahmaputra is inside India. And this shows us it's an absolutely wonderful place through that band, Lohit. Here it is called Lohit. In all of Assam, actually, Brahmaputra is called as colloquially called as Lohit. Brahmaputra is the Shastriya name, but the Lok name is Lohit, Lohitya, not even Lohit, they call it Lohitya. And so here, where I am standing, behind me are the plains, in front of me are the mountains, through a band that rushes through and expands into the plains, which is Bharatvarsh. It is a sight to behold. No river you have seen in the world is like Brahmaputra. Some of the longest river bridges in the world are on this river, and not just that, its majesty is everywhere. It's a very peculiar world, but it is our world and we have to witness it. Now, how our itihasas have spread, you will hear about itihasas in this festival a lot. A tribe, an entire community in eastern Arunachal in this region, near Parshuram Kund, Idu Mishmis, it is called the Maika of Rukmini. And the tribe is just around 8 to 10,000 people. It's not a big tribe. And because of that, in this part, conversions are almost unknown. In this tribe, in this particular community, conversions are almost unknown because of the great influence of the great epic Mahabharata. Now, fortunately, Gujarat has a festival where they invite, the family members of Rukmini for an entire festival, and they are, which are just 8 to 10,000 people. They invite around 2,000 people, so almost 25% of the tribe is invited there. And so that their Sanatani, their Hindu traditions are getting deeper and deeper. And this is the kind of mixing, this is the kind of adjustment that we need to do. This is a kind of acculturation that we need to do. Not just them adjusting to us, but us adjusting to them. Then there are some remains of great classical temple. This is the remains of a Adhishthan of a great classical temple before the Ahom-era in Malinithan. It is across, not very far from the Assamese border, but inside Arunachal. And then our community, we should be very proud of this. A lot of bad things are happening in Northeast. I don't have time to discuss them, but the Christian conversions, at last we'll have a 30 seconds slide and sentence on that. But Northeast has almost 3 Christian majority states. One, we don't know, Arunachal may have become Christian majority by now. We have only 2011 census data, so not after that. But what we should be proud of also, that the native traditions and a lot of mainland organizations, including Sangha and Kalyana Ashram, have actually gone there, done work for last 70 to 75 years, and they have helped the indigenous traditions to build temples who never built temples. Because they said, and the formula is this, if you have a script, if you have in written form their beliefs, practices, and prayers, and if you have a structure and a murti inside it, then that community stops converting to Christianity, because this is what Christianity gives them when it comes. So this is how they have started building the temples of Donyupalo, who is the form of sun and moon. And so like sun god also, he's another sun god. And they have started building temples of Donyupalo all over Arunachal Pradesh. And the movement is spreading, and wherever it spreads, it's not very easy to convert the locals. And then they are also identifying, this is Swambhu Shivling, huge Shivling in Zero. Zero is very famous for its music festival. It's a wonderful, out of fairyland. If you, any one of you, if you have ever been to Zero, once you arrive there, it's like a Lord of the Rings, a world straight out of fantasy just appearing in front of your eyes. Absolutely beautiful. And in that place, they have identified this Swambhu Shivling as one of the largest Shivlings, and it is Shiva Parvati because there is another linga along with it. In this, it is seen on the left-hand side. So Shiva and Parvati, and the great tradition started. Churches tried to stop it, but it didn't. The locals came in its support, and now it's a great tradition and growing. More and more people. Himanta Biswa Sarma, once again, although he's fighting elections in Assam, and this is the kind of signaling that we need, he went for darshan in this temple. So he is staking a claim on all the mountains, because Assam is nothing without mountains. Mountains are nothing without Assam, without the valley. And so they have to be together in this, and this, a great work is happening. And then another, in the southern districts of Arunachal, which are Changlang, Tirap and Longding, their local deity, Rangphra, who is almost a form of Shiva, if you see him, he is like a little Chinese Shiva. This is the form that they gave. They didn't used to make any vigrahas, but they asked them, how do you imagine them? How do you visualize them? And once they did, they started building this. They wrote prayer books, recorded the prayers, which they had, because they are oral cultures. And after that, great work is going on there also. Another movement for us to be proud of, another thing which we can do more. And similarly, so what happens is that there is so much diversity. Changlang mein wo Rangphra hai, in very next district, in Tirap, he becomes Rangjubang. So in a matter of 20-30 kilometers, the deity, the primary deity, it changes, the nature changes. This is how diverse it is. And they are now trying to protect every one of these. And then Nagaland. Nagaland is almost entirely Christian. No structure as such remains. But the basic Sanatan pagan spirituality is there. It is still there. And in many ways, I'll discuss one or two. So they have these trees. Mokokchung is the district of Nagaland where Christianity first arrived. Ao, our tourism minister in the center, if I'm not wrong, Temjen Imnalong, he's from Ao community, he's from this place, Mokokchung. And this was the first community to convert, yet there is a tree. There are sacred banyan trees and pear trees, which they have been worshipping since their pre-Christian times, which the church has been absolutely unable to weed out, that sort of practice. Here, when a twig breaks, they hold an almost, it's called Zena, a taboo of 3 days, which is like a vrat. Even if a twig breaks, they have a vrat of 3 days. And so if anybody touches the tree, there are great riots. So this spirituality, this basic spirituality still remains in Nagaland. At many places, these sacred trees are there. So we just need to rekindle it. When you see those rivers, they are so pristine. The people are beautiful. They have been defrauded. One of, in last, in Swaraj festival, when we invited Maya Murtamji, I was talking to her on a stage. And in another festival, she also said, we are simple people. Somebody came, gave us medicine, told us to start worshipping their gods. We did. We had no idea that what to do, what it actually meant in the global politics. We had no idea of Indian politics, let alone the geopolitics. And so those are wonderful people who have been defrauded, but not just defrauded. We cannot just say that only that part is done. The missionaries came, they loved everything about their culture except their gods. They identified their primary problems, solved all of them, education, medicine, every other thing. Solved all of the problems, and in its return, they demanded their gods. If they can do it, why can't us? Why can't we? And now our side has started doing it. We have copied that, and they have invested for 2,000 years Christianity in R&D of conversion. We don't need to do it again, just copy it. It's not even very complex technology. Just study them for 1 year and you'll know what it is. And people are studying it. Our part at both, also my organization, also is to study these things. And you can copy those methods. It's very easy. But you cannot hate those people. That's why I'm against the word rise back, because you are insulting those people. You're not just insulting an ideology, you're insulting those people, and you're declaring that you didn't have rice enough and that they were poor enough and they had to do this. That's never going to work. Love them. They are wonderful people. Accept them. Bring them back. Solve their problems. And every one of these communities have deep spirituality within them. You will imagine these are wonderful places overlooking Burma, pristine mountains where for hundreds of kilometers there is no one, a small village, 25 homes. They grow their own food. They go nowhere else. Weather is almost like AC, between 12 to 25, 24. It's heaven. And for them, if we go there with all our prejudices and dump it on them, this is bad and that is good, they see it, I see you as bad. I see you as something we should not emulate, and that is their experience. When they come to not just Delhi, so any other place in most of India, they'll see all sorts of things that are happening. In their places, it doesn't exist. So we have to understand those places first. These sacred places are our first touch point. If we go there, if we respect it, no Naga, and they are wonderful people. We are afraid of Nagas, but they are wonderful people. No Naga will touch you. They will help you. If anybody tries to harm you, they will help you. Respect that, and after that, all doors are open. And then in Angamis, in Kohima, some of the last 5,000 non-Christian Nagas, indigenous Nagas are there, who call themselves Sanatanis. Hindu is a label they are a little, shy of, but Sanatan, they never repel. They say we are all Sanatanis, and that should be enough for us for now. And so they have these, they don't even have space because the state doesn't give them any public space. Now they are trying for one in Kohima, even in their capital. So they have these home shrines where they worship their gods and goddesses, where they hold all rituals. I went to a home where a couple of 75 years old, they were the last remaining priests of their village. Their children who were sitting in front of them had converted. Imagine the depression that could take you, where your entire world, right in your own lifetime, has absolutely fallen apart, to the point where your own children, your own daughters and your sons have converted. You are the two, that couple is the last remaining couple in that area. And yet when I asked them, do you hope that this will revive? He says, I have no doubt that it will. We just have to remove some systemic injustices. There is no doubt that it will. And that is the spirit. If they can have that spirit, we are 1 billion. We should have that spirit. We should make them feel that they are part of a great family. This is what Christianity does. This is what Islam does. They make these individuals feel by supporting them, you are a part of a global family, 2 billion, 3 billion. We are, if not 3 and 2, at least 1 billion. We can also give, 1 billion is not a small number. 100 crore बहुत होता है. 100 crore से ऊपर ही होगा, I guess I'm guessing. 100 crore Hindus is the number. So it's a great number, and we can use it for all purposes. And we are coming in from this direction. After Nagaland, we come down to Manipur, and the upper areas of Manipur, it once again has these very sacred pear trees and banyan trees, which I told you the story about. These are the Mao areas of Naga. If you see Manipur, Manipur really is Manipur. How? It is surrounded by 100% mountains from all sides. At the center is a valley. In the valley live Meiteis. In the hills live Nagas and Kukis. So it really is like a Mani. It has one of the most beautiful, most aesthetic Hindu traditions, not just all of Northeast, but all of North India. Hills are all Christian. So hills are 100% Christian. All the Hindus and Muslims live in the valley area, in the what is called as the non-reserved Meitei land. But even in these hills, there are traditions. I have met some individuals who still have not left Christianity. In fact, there was General Bernal Singh, or if I'm not wrong, there was an officer who was posted there, and he's writing in about 1980s. He said there was a village in northern Manipur, Naga village in northern Manipur, because Nagas are also in Manipur. He said there was a great punishment for converting to Christianity. That village used to punish them. That is how hard they tried to stop conversions. But because they had no one to help, all the world's organizations to attack them, and even India, the center, was never aware, never cared enough. There is another point in Nagaland. Missionaries write their stories of watching how they started conversions in a certain area. And so I also followed their trail. So I was listening to them through an interpreter. They were speaking in Konyak language. Konyaks were one of the last headhunters of Nagas. Konyaks are one of the Nagas. So I was speaking to them through an interpreter. And he mentioned the word Hindu. So I said, because I thought that he would summarize. But then when I heard the word Hindu, I asked him, what did he say? He said that in 1948 and 49, when Wanching converted, Wakching was also actually because they were rivals. The two villages were rivals on two hills. This village, which had not yet converted, they got together, the leaders, and they said, let us convert to Hindu Dharma, because they converted to Christianity. But then I said, so what happened? And they said, you never came. And Christianity came sooner or later, so it happened. And I'm not even blaming us because we were a defeated, beaten down civilization, but the fact is that these people, we cannot blame them for converting. We have to help them. We have to correct the wrongs of history. They were ready to, if they had that thought at that time, they can have that thought at this time, and their spirituality can be revived. Now, the Meiteis, I don't need to go too deep into it. I think that culture is a little mainstream now through some marriages, through some celebrity marriages. But this is the Govindai temple of Imphal. Absolutely wonderful place, absolutely wonderful art performances, Manipuri dance that happens there many times during the year. But this is not the only thing. They have a local deity called Sanamahi, like we all have in all our states. And every home will have a shrine of Sanamahi, will have a picture of Sanamahi along with Vishnu, along with Krishna, along with Shiva and Shakti. So this is everywhere. Now there is a movement there because the communists have tried to tell them they are not Hindus, they are Sanamahis. So there is a Sanamahi separatist movement, but fortunately a lot of people there are also very particular Hindus. So we have to help that grow. We have to, when I reached there, when I went there for the first time, he asked, do you see these mountains? Yes. Are 9 sacred hills, which we'll discuss. All 9 sacred hills. There are 9 sacred hills of Meiteis. Every single one of them is under the control of Kukis and Nagas. And we can't go anywhere. And the only way to get out of the valley for Meiteis is to take a flight. And we know how many people can actually take flights. So all of these things which they go through, we are not even aware of. And yet they maintain such beautiful traditions. This temple is around 500 years old. The king of Myanmar actually gifted the Vigraha Vishnu Murti to the king of Bishnupur. And that is supposed to be the oldest extant temple of Bishnupur. That also tells you that there must be Vishnu worship which was popular in Myanmar. And then there are 9 sacred hills of Manipur, as I told you, Mount Kobru, Tampabang Hill, where, at one place Sanamai is supposed to exist, at another place other deities of them. And this is how Manipur is. At center would be, this is one part of the valley, not entire valley, of course. But at center there will be valley, and absolutely some of the most beautiful places that I've ever seen in my life are there. Quietest, most pristine, AQI 405, and these are the places, very, very beautiful. And this is how, and yet that place is so difficult because of the politics, because we have not paid attention enough. And now, we started from Assam, we went there, we covered Arunachal, then we came to Nagaland, Manipur, and now let us re-enter Assam, because the southern part of Assam, this southern band, it is called Barak Valley. So there is Brahmaputra, then there is Barak Valley. In Brahmaputra are the Assamese. In Barak Valley, it's almost completely Bengali. So it was an extension of Bengal. And then it became part of Assam, so there are lots of controversies over that also, but this is it. There are Bhaban Hills. Bhaban Hills, there is a Naga Vishnu Mandir. There are Hindu Nagas who live here, very, very particular Hindus who call themselves not just Sanatani but Hindu, celebrate, worship Hanuman, worship Sri Ram, worship Vishnu, and they have this Vishnu Mandir. It's in a cave. Every year they have a jatra. They also say this Vishnu is not exactly that, but he is of course part of the same, he's the same deity, but this is a different form of Vishnu. Just like Vithoba of Maharashtra, this is a different form of it. You have to trek, still you have to trek almost 5-6 kilometers. Jaan nikal jati hai, main gaya hoon. But when you reach there, it's absolutely wonderful. Then Silchar had Kachari kings, and they have this particular beautiful architecture. Silchar is one of the great cities. It should have been the capital of Northeast. But because it's a Bengali city in an Assamese state, which is plagued by Bengali infiltration, so there we have it because of all the politics and culture. It's not the capital. So here also great temples exist in this Charchal style of Bengal and Assam. And then even in Mizoram, I had, because if you read also, and it's true to a large extent that every single Mizo has converted to Christianity. There is nothing left. 100% Mizos having converted to Christianity. When India became independent, Mizo was the only district, it was then the district of Assam. Mizo was the only community which had 92 or 93% conversion achieved even in 1947. Nagas at that time were only 43 to 45% Christian. We had a great opportunity at that time. Half of the Nagas could be indigenous, could be Sanatani, but we lost that opportunity then. But Mizos had then converted. So this time when I went, I got to know about a small, budging, upcoming community of 1,000 Mizos who have gone back and restarted their Mizo indigenous religion and tradition. And how did it happen? Three priests who were reading the Bible as they were giving sermons, they thought, oh, this is against Mizo culture, completely opposite to it. And so when they started talking, the church excommunicated them, so said, that's good, this is what we wanted. They restarted their tradition, and now there are 1,000 people. Imagine, hope is this. From zero to 1,000 they have come. From absolute extinction to once again revival of the tradition is the state at which Mizoram is. Then once again we are 1 billion. Once again we are 1 billion. We have no reason to lose hope. This is the first temple that they have rebuilt. The priest himself took me there. They have copied all the good things. It's a very good place. The first Mizo temple which has once again come up in Mizoram. And then they still maintain this tradition. There is a Wangshia sacred forest. There are many sacred forests in the northeast. Here we went into this forest, and the mountain range that you see in front, it is Burma. The river that flows at the bottom is Tiau River, is the international border between India and Burma. And this side, we are of course standing in Mizoram in India. And it is believed that Mizos entered into India through this part. So this is their sacred forest, and it's so palpable. The presence of the deities, the presence of the divine, if you enter this place, it's still very alive. If we were just to go there and rekindle all those spirits, rekindle that bhava, it is not impossible that they will come back. I recently went to Himachal. The local person there, my friend there, he took me to a Hidimba temple hidden in the forest. Not temple, it was just a vigraha in a very hidden place near a stream. So because it was autumn, the path was all covered. And because he knew the track, so he followed and I followed behind him. Now, that forced me to think of an analogy. Our deities, and Ram Sarupji used to say this, our deities have not gone anywhere, our deities have not disappeared. We have just forgotten our paths of access to them. If we were to, like that track, if more people walk that track, the path will become visible and the deities will once again appear. And that should be our attitude here. Tripura is one of the greatest Hindu refuge islands. It is, I don't like to take a biblical analogy, but because it is close, it likes the Noah's Ark in all the destruction of Hindu and Hindu property and genocides that has happened in last 700-800 years in Bangladesh. Everyone who wanted to flee and find a place to live, to be secure and practice Hindu Dharma, the Dev Burman kings, who were Kok Barok, who were Tripuri, who were not Bengali, who are an Tibeto-Burman community, which a very different language, just like all other communities of Northeast, their languages come from a different language family. They became such great and proud Sanatanis that they started giving refuge to all these Bengali Hindus, to the point where there are now 74% Bengali Hindus in Tripura. So that's a point of contention. We have to put up serious mechanisms of education that the community which was given refuge, which was a Hindu community in Tripura, should behave properly with those tribal community, Janjati community, so that they don't convert to Christianity, and that is what we need to take care of. So that clash, because Christianity is an expert in harvesting sorrow, harvesting all the fault lines. So they say these Hindus have oppressed you, so you convert to Christianity, and that's how you get global support, and it's happening. Kok Baroks, who were for 600 years, they Burmans kept flying the flag of Sanatana Dharma. Now 5 to 7%, 8% of them have converted to Christianity. And only 5 to 7%. Tripura is still largely a pristinely Hindu state. We should support, we should visit it more and more. Fortunately, this government is paying a lot of attention to Tripura, to all of Northeast, but to Tripura even more particularly. And because there are so many tirtha here in Tripura to go to, this is Onukoti. There are thousands of sculpture in tribal art of Shiva, Parvati, Hindu gods and goddesses, which are there in Tripura. It's a wonderful place, it's still pristine. In 19th century, an Aghori Baba, this was lost to world. An Aghori Baba went there, cleaned the entire place, then went to the king, said, make a road there. Hindus need to come here back again. This is how our Kshetras are revived by the tapas of, single sadhu like this. Then there is Shabimura. This is the river, Gomti, and you have to, this place is only accessible by river. You have to, half an hour, you have to go into a steamer where there is no reception. Forget internet, there is no mobile reception. It's tropical rainforest, plunging down into the river. After half an hour, Devi suddenly appears in front of you. As this is 800 years old. Imagine our ancestors who went to those, at that time, this was like back of backwaters, and yet they created such great places there. Then in Agartala, this is a great example of how the Desi and Margi traditions meet. 14 gods, there is a 14 gods temple. They are the names of 14 local gods, but they also correspond to Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, Varun. So they say that there is a comparison between them, and they are one and the same. So the coming together of Desi and Margi tradition also. And this is Tripura Sundari temple. In its current form, it's on a Kurma Peeth. It has been revived now completely, and quite a lot. I'm very happy to see in Udaipur, there is an Udaipur in Tripura. A lot of people are now going to Udaipur of Tripura. Now we land with Meghalaya. In Meghalaya also, people go to Shillong, to Doki, to all those falls, but there is Nartyang Durga. I'm very happy. Now after, due to those YouTubers and vloggers, at least some people are going to. This is one of the Shaktipithas, right in Jantia Hills. Absolutely wonderful place to go to, naturally also, culturally of course. And then there are sacred forests of Mawphlang. There are many sacred forests, and this concept exists in very much in Hindu Dharma, in mainstream Hindu Dharma, the concept of Dev-Van, where you build no temple, where you build no Vigraha, you worship the nature as it is. And this exists there, and he says that we do our rituals here. The guide was a native indigenous follower, he was not a Christian. And he said we do, so we have different traditions. All sacred forests, deities of one forest travels to all other forests. So this is peculiar to us. I said the same thing happens in Hindu traditions. We do palkis, we do rath yatras all the time. He didn't even know. And he was a very well-meaning, very enthusiastic, very curious person who was following indigenous tradition. Now, I don't consider it his fault or the fault of that place. I consider it the fault of our educators and us, people, even common Hindus, that we fail to, even connect with our brothers over Northeast. Then there is this stalactite naturally forming, millions of years old, shivling, which is in Mawsynram, the wettest place of earth. A lot of people go to that place, wonderful place, everyone should go to. But just near that is this sacred shivling. Unfortunately, the government prohibits you to do any worship here because of the usual things there. It's a 75% Christian state. But as we go more and more, Shraddha that will be shown there cannot be ignored anymore. This is what it is. I'll just end at this. This is the religious map of Northeast India. So the blue is Christianity. And you can see Mattheys are the only red Hindu dot in a sea of, if you start from Changlang district in Arunachal Pradesh until Mizoram, 1200 or so kilometers, 100% Christian villages at our border. Now I bet very few of us would have thought over this fact. Entire southern border of Northeast is absolutely 100% Christian. And it's not just in India. In Myanmar side also the same story is there. So it's not just India. The whole hills are there. The green is, of course, those, I've been to those places, 85%, 90%, 95% Bangladeshi Muslim, not even Assamese Muslim, Bangladeshi Muslim. If Himanta Biswa is not there, it's impossible for those people to live. And yet, look at the courage. I went to a place called Mankachar. Muslims are 95% there, 5% Hindus only. And yet, when I went to the market, all of them had Sri Hanuman flags, Sri Ram flags on their shops. If they can do it, we are 1 billion, we can do it. So that is the spirit we should take. All of us, you should go to these places. Travel करने का हम सबको कीड़ा है, हम वो रोक नहीं सकते. Let's utilize it for this. Let's connect with our Northeast brothers and sisters. Love them, solve their problems in any way that we can, connect them to institutions and people. And let's hope that one day Sanatana Dharma once again rules all over Northeast India, all over Bharatvarsh, and maybe much more beyond to spread the Sanatana umbrella all over the world. Thank you very much.